Hey, everyone. This is your girl, Nicole Doss, and I am back with another episode of Prestige Radio. So listen, I know it's the new year. We have walked into 2022 really trying to figure out what are we going to do differently about our business. This is the time where I usually like to reflect. I used to like doing it in December so that when I went into 2022, I felt like I had a really clear mind and was like ready to hit the ground running. But I will say in the past 2 years, I guess specifically, maybe I'll even go into the past 2 years. Before the pandemic, when I say before the pandemic, I mean like months before the pandemic hit. I found that I started to do this exercise actually in January. And the reality is that I really wanted to kind of close out the year really focusing on family, focusing on reflection of gratitude and being grateful for the things that I've experienced and really being intentional about finding the wins. Yes, I believe that we learn from mistakes. Yes, I believe that when we're able to identify things that didn't work out, we can find growth in that. But let's just be honest, ladies. We do not have a problem beating ourselves up. We don't have any issue whatsoever telling ourselves where we have fallen short. That's not a problem area for us. Where we normally struggle is when it comes time for us to uplift ourselves. We can uplift others without a problem. But when it comes to uplifting ourselves, and please excuse me as I open up a bottle of sparkling water. Wasn't sure if it was going to do a nice little shh. So I wanted to be mindful of that. But we really don't have a problem, uplifting others. But when it comes to uplifting ourselves, we tend to be very, very hard on ourselves and we lack in that area. And unless you dedicate intentional time or if you do not direct intentional energy into that space of identifying areas of your life where you've actually won, even if it feels like you haven't, you can really close out the year feeling like crap. You can really close out the year feeling like you just aren't enough, and you may even fall into a space where you just feel like you're not enough and like you're a failure. So for me, this whole like reflecting of my business, reflecting of the year, and really identifying and strategizing what I want to do for the new year usually comes into the activity that I dedicate for the month of January. So because of that, that's kind of the space I'm in right now. And it's so funny because like everyone was doing these really awesome years in review. And in doing those years in review, I thought it was amazing how many people just look like they were winning. And I'm like, man, everyone was winning, but not me. And then I started to recap my year. And I realized that although I did not win in the areas that I may have wanted to win, the things that I actually accomplished truly gave me joy in my life. And that I was extremely thankful for. That I wanted to spend time giving thanks to my Almighty Father. Thank you, Father God, for, helping me realize that and just having a moment of gratitude. That was really important for me. So I definitely spent that time doing that. But now, like I said earlier, I am in the space where I am really focused on strategy. So one of the things that I like to do when I focus on strategy is spending some time and looking at some historical data. So the historical data exercise is not very long drawn for me. It's really quick. And when you have access to data like QuickBooks, sales reports from your website, it's really easy for you to pull up data and for you to be able to see things. Your bank accounts for your business. It helps you to see where you landed the previous year. And so you're able to see, were your sales up or down? And the cool thing about using tools such as dashboards that are provided to you through whoever your website host is, it tells you where you'll land. You don't have to do the math. It maths it for you. That's right. I said it. I didn't say calculated. I said it maths. It maths it for you. So if your math ain't mathing, like my math normally does not math, don't worry, because there's tools in place for you to be able to make smarter decisions around what to do next, because it's going to tell you if your sales were up by 67%, if your sales were down by 54%. It's going to tell you all that information so you know how to proceed when it comes to strategizing for the next year. Also, for me, I have real honest conversations with myself. So when I do see that like things kind of suck in certain areas, it's really easy for me to pinpoint very quickly where the balls have been dropped. And one of the things, I guess because I learned this in coaching, is that if you don't want to fall into a victim standpoint, don't blame external forces on your failures. Really look internally to see what did you contribute to it, because that's how you're able to take ownership. And believe it or not, taking accountability for your failures helps you to feel empowered to change the situation. And that has to come with you understanding that first and foremost, you can change your situation. So I understand that statement is probably scary for most. So let me just backpedal for a minute and take a moment to explain a little bit more what I mean by that. If you are someone who does not understand who you are, whose you are, your purpose, if you feel lost, if you aren't really sure why you're here on this earth, and you find that you're kind of just living life on a hamster wheel, taking accountability for failures sucks, because you already do not feel empowered in your day-to-day. So if you don't feel empowered in your day-to-day, and then you take accountability for your failure, then you aren't quite sure, and you do not believe that you have the power to change your situation, because you already feel helpless. So I do understand that if that is where you are in life, me saying taking accountability for your failures is freeing and is the best way to empower you, I understand that probably sounds like baloney. I will say that then this conversation isn't really for you, and you might need to listen to some other episodes around, finding out who you are, maybe some episodes on being a purposepreneur before you tackle this conversation. This particular conversation is for the individual who is very strong-willed, knows that you have a very laser focus on what it is you want to accomplish for 2022, and you just need to move forward, and you're ready to move forward, and you're in go mode. So this episode is definitely for the go mode person. So I do not ask you to not listen to this episode if you are not in go mode, because I don't think you're good enough, or that I don't think that you are smart enough to hear the information. It's just that you mentally are not ready for it, and there's other work we have to do before we have a go mode conversation. So definitely take a moment, go to some other episodes that may feel like it's more what you need to fill you, and then come back to this episode when you're ready to go. Now that we got that out the way, for those of you that are in go mode, when you look at some of your failures, or what I would like to call missed opportunities in the previous year or previous years, and you're ready and you're in go mode, allow those failures, the accountability of those failures, understanding your part in those failures, to give you all of the adrenaline, energy that you need, ambition, desire. Allow that to fuel you in ways you can never imagine. Because what you know are the steps you did not take. What you know is that you could have done X, Y, and Z, and because you didn't, this is what happened. So now, if you still want to go on that trajectory, or you still want to go down this path, all you have to do is set into motion the very things you did not, and you get to watch yourself succeed exponentially. That should like literally give you goosebumps. Let me give you an example. And I think we talked about this before. Now, this is where it gets a little like, a little iffy, right? But here's the deal. Stick with me for a minute. I promise I will make it make sense. So I talked about before in a previous episode how I had a business model where I wanted to push out a particular course. And I wanted to close membership, and I just wanted to start with this course. This course was a standalone course, and the course was like $3,500. So what Kiera did, who is the director of operations, I'm sorry, that's Nicole Green. Kiera is director of business management and relation management for all of our vendors. So if we have any people who want to partner with us, please reach out to Kiera Benskop. If you go to 1866 Elite 59, you will be able to ask for extension and you will be able to talk to her. So with that being said, one of the things that was really interesting is that when we did the math on offering this course, I think we were trying to do it each quarter. We wanted to have X amount of people who were in the course, and we had these Boss Academy coaches, if you will, who we basically were giving a commission to be able to bring those people into the fold. Then what happened is that we were able to say, okay, this is really great. We can bring this person on, and this person will be able to, if we bring all these people on and they're able to do this and sign up, they're literally could have been the earning potential of $169,000 with just one arm of the business. Just one arm had the ability to bring in $169,000. Now, in order to make that happen, you can't just depend on one platform, right? I mean, you got to go hard. So you got to do freebies, and you have to do, landing pages, and you have to really work your sales funnel, and you really have to do the work up front to get the people into your net of interests where you're constantly working your leads, closing your deals. And I got to tell you, I really didn't do that. I did not work that model hard enough. So not working the model hard enough then meant that I did not get the sales that I was looking for. So when I wanted to become down and humdrum and say, man, there's nothing I'm doing that's allowing me to be able to reach this kind of, earning potential with my brand, I could very easily pinpoint the models that I actually created, what the earning potential was, what my actual execution of that model looked like, and I could easily draw a line of delineation of like what the potential was, what the actual was, and what the missed opportunities were. So for that, knowing that the potential was there and that the only missing piece is that I didn't actually push as hard as I was supposed to, that gave me the freedom to say, go hard. You already went easy. So if you went easy and you actually saw some success, go hard and blow this game out the water. That is so exciting for me to say, let's explore some other opportunities. Let's explore some other opportunities and let's go hard or let's go home. To me, that gives me so much ambition, and it fires a fuel inside of me, in the very depth of my spirit, that invigorates me to keep going and moving forward. And especially when I focus on models that I feel really help people, that for me is really important. So when I say this is where it can get iffy, is if you are at the point where if you are looking at this model and this is a model that you would like to continue with, then realize what the missed opportunities are and handle it. But if you get to a position where it's well, I don't really like the model, this is where it gets iffy, where now you just have to say, all right, we'll change the model. But this particular model or this new venture that you want to go after, you still know what it takes to push it out. You know what it looks like to kind of, pardon my French, half-ass it. So at this point, go hard. Go hard. This is what you need to do. So I think it's really important for us to start taking that into consideration when we are really pushing our business or really pushing our brands and not really understanding what we need to do, or not understanding like why we're not seeing the success. So, go back briefly. And the reason why I say briefly is because it should not be a really long exercise where you're dwelling in the past or where you feel like you're in a pity party for one, saying, woe is me, I'm not successful. The whole basis of starting this analysis in looking at trending data from the historical data, is to say, I know that I tried to push out these things last year. Didn't really look the way I wanted it to look. But the reason being is because this was the potential. Know your numbers. This is the earning potential of this effort. This is what I put into it. This is what I got out of it. And it makes sense. Sometimes it won't though. So like you can push and not see what you're looking for. And you're like, why am I not seeing it? But most of the times for me, I can say, and all the times I've pushed, it's when I've actually really saw the success. It's the times where I was just doing what was comfortable for me. And if I'm in my comfort zone, that means I'm not pushing. Then, and that's when I would see mediocre results. So just be mindful of that in that first activity where you are just kind of looking at, what's missing. So as I look at historical data and I kind of see like these are some of my missed opportunities, the next thing I do is I look at, okay, what are some new opportunities that I should really look into? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get introduced to you 6 revenue models that you should begin to look at and just say, are any of these models the right model for me to implement into my business today? The cool thing is that you do not have to only sell based off of one model. You should have multiple models fit into your business plan where it will allow your business to make money a number of ways. So in this 6 models, we actually got this from a Forbes article. It is a little dated, but I feel like this dated material actually still holds pretty good relevance today, which is why I want to share it. Anything that's like brand spanking new, if it's not talking about like a new trend that we should look like, be on the lookout for. I like to see the older things because I'm interested in knowing, were they right? The people who wrote the article, does this stuff still ring true today? And I got to say, for this Forbes article, looks like this guy was pretty on point. So let's just jump right into it. And I don't want to butcher his name, but the guy who wrote this, he's a senior contributor for Forbes. And the article was written in 2019. And it's called 6 Revenue Models Every Entrepreneur Should Know. And it was written by Abdo Riani. And if I said his name incorrectly, please just charge it to my ignorance. Because, I'm sorry. All right. So the first model that this particular article likes to explore is on demand. And I think this is awesome. This particular model in this article, the examples that are used here, Uber, Airbnb, and Instacart, which it's hilarious because like at this moment, I am waiting for a shopper to start shopping using my Instacart right now. So look at there. But these are the examples that are given, right? And so I will say this is something that I teach when it comes to my merch, when it comes to, for those who don't know what my merch is, meaning my merchandise that just branded merchandise from, the Prestige brand. It's a model I use for my books and my planners. And the reason being is that I am not interested in having overhead. My operational expenses usually come more from, these like software that I use, systems that I use, those kind of subscriptions that I pay for. Those are more of what my operational income is like all tied up in, not in anything that is required for me to like move items out of inventory. So once that's the case, it's a bad space for me because I gift a lot of things. So if I start seeing things in inventory that's sitting around, I don't sell it, I gift it. And then that's like money out the door. So, and then also too, because I offer such a wide range of items and not one of them is what's called a high velocity or high dynamic, like inventory item. I don't know which item to put into inventory that would be able to be what the customer wants. So for instance, I have 6 planners total that I offer from the Boss Life Planner. So what I'm not about to do is buy all 6 planners, put them in inventory. No, nope. But what if I am going to buy anything into inventory, is probably the latest planner that we create for that year. But people like to buy at any given moment all of our planners. So like one person may have a goal this year to really focus on their finances, so they like the financial tracker. Another person may really want to focus on their social media content. They'll buy the social media content one. So it's really important for me to not have a lot of overhead. So on demand is huge. Same thing for our apparel. We literally have, I want to say, maybe about 5 to 6 different collections. And within those collections, we may have 5 to 10 different items under each collection, from shirts, t-shirts, tank tops, hats, you name it, cell phone case covers. I mean, whatever you can think of, that's what we have. And so if that's the case, like what I don't want to do is like buy all this stuff and then try to figure out who's going to buy what. So for me, purchasing items and having them in inventory is not something that I am interested in. So on demand is a model that works for me. This is something where you should think about what you want to do for on demand. Now, on demand, I use is more what's called print on demand. So I use print on demand for books and for apparel to fulfill orders. But what on demand means is that you fulfill an order once a customer demands it. So if you are making cookies, if you're making cupcakes, on demand for you looks like not creating items prior to a customer requesting that item. That may work for a cookie business that is home-based. It would not work for a cookie business that is an actual store. So if any of you live in the Burlington County, New Jersey area, you've probably heard of the Black-owned cookie store called Glassy Brown Cookies. And if you have Arlene, who is actually the founder of Glassy Brown Cookies, what she's not going to do is let you walk into the store and not see a cookie in sight. When you come into the store, you're going to smell the cookies, you're going to see the cookies, you're going to buy the cookies. But when Arlene had her cookie business out of her home, I doubt that she just had all these cookies sitting around, because ultimately, who's going to buy these cookies, right? So on demand, for those that are a food-based service, you definitely want to think about what makes sense for you. So if you're home-based, yeah, sure, take advantage of on demand. If you are, a brick and mortar, maybe not. Or the way that you would look at on demand is you would know which of your items are your best sellers. Those are the items that you create and that you have and you bake and you make, and that's what's in the store and that people see. And then you may have an on-demand list of more of the unique items that you can make if you buy X amount of, let's say, cookies. If you buy a dozen of these cookies, we can make them for you on demand. So understanding these kind of models help you make better decisions about how to run your business. The next business model, I gotta tell you, for 2019, for this to be a suggestion, I thought it was pretty dated. But then I had a conversation in one of my classes around direct sales and using e-commerce on your website for it. And one of my students didn't have their e-commerce set up on their website. And I realized at that moment that everyone does not take advantage of e-commerce. So I got to tell you now, in 2019, 10% of retail sales in the US have come from e-commerce. But let's see if I can find it really quickly, because I'm interested in knowing what is the percentage of e-commerce sales in the US, let's say in 2021. Whew. So in the third quarter of 2021, 13% of total sales. So it went up 3%. And it actually accounted for $204.6 billion of sales. And that came from the census.gov. Who knew? Look at that. So there definitely has been an increase. And of course, we know part of this was probably done by the pandemic, or due because of the pandemic and people just kind of buying things online opposed to buying things in stores. We know that some stores just had short supply of things, so you had a better chance of finding things online. So definitely the e-commerce model has grown exponentially, which means that if you can offer items online to sell to a customer, that you are going to increase your chances of you actually making a sale. So does that mean that once you actually have a sale, or once you have an item and you have e-commerce set up, that people are going to miraculously come to your site and buy? Absolutely not. You still have to do all of the steps that are involved around sales and marketing to close and convert that sale. So I will say that, but if you do not have e-commerce platforms set up on your website, you are definitely leaving a few dollars and cents on the table, because it is a way that a large trend of how people like to shop. So make sure that you get yourself a piece of that 200 and something billion. Let me see, get those figures for you. Get you a piece of the $204.6 billion pie in getting some of those revenue sales. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is marketplace. So one of the things about a marketplace that I really like is that it is different. It's definitely e-commerce, but it's different. So when I talk about e-commerce, I talk about it from a standpoint of you having an e-commerce platform tied to your brand. So you have a website, people can buy services or products from you on your website. Now, when we talk about a marketplace is where you are able to make commission because you have placed your items, your services on someone else's platform for people to purchase from you. Now, some of the benefits for something like this. And when I think about marketplace, think about Amazon, think about Etsy, think about Creative Market. When you think of these places, think of those kind of things, because here's the thing. When you use a marketplace model, you are no longer bound by your own realm of influence. You now have you are now putting your items, your services on a platform where people readily go and visit to look for things that you may provide. So let me make it make sense. Here we go. So when I think of Etsy, I may not go to Google and type in, so I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta, Sorority Incorporated. Founders Day is coming up, J13. So what is really interesting is that when I want to buy, let's say, a gift for a soror, I don't necessarily go on to Google and do a search on Google for those particular things. I will, because I know Etsy is a marketplace for those who create things, make things. I will go to Etsy, because Etsy is a platform I like to use. And then I will type in the thing I'm looking for. So whether it's a J13 sweatshirt, whether it's an African violet pin, whether it's, all the things that I know that someone that's part of the sorority would look for, because I know that vendors that make items, that are licensed to make items for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, I know I can go to Etsy because that's a platform that I can search those things, okay? And I can find those things that are unique and that maybe that particular person who's a creator makes. That is the beauty of a marketplace, because now you are selling something and you're not just selling on your website, because you might sell on your website too. But if I don't know you, but I meet you through Etsy, now there's this window where it's like, okay, now I get it, because I am, I know this brand, I like this brand, and I may not go to their website, but that handshake, the introduction, that first purchase was done through Etsy. And whenever I'm looking for something else, I can then go onto Etsy and look for those other items and maybe find another person who makes these really cute things that I'm looking for. So a perfect example would be if you decided you wanted to create an online course. So if you create an online course, let's say through Thinkific isn't necessarily a place where people who want to learn something go. It is a place where people who want to make content create the content. But if I decide that I want to sell my courses on Udemy, the cool thing is that I know that students go to Udemy to learn. They go to Udemy, they go to Coursera. And so that's where people who want to learn go and look for information, which means placing my information on platforms such as Udemy now open me up to a broader market, because people who do not know me trust Udemy as this pool of resources. Sorry about that. Y'all, I just had a phone call. But they trust, that people go to Udemy to get information or to search courses that may be useful and relevant to their needs. So this is why you may want to start to think about a marketplace. The only thing I would say that really sucks about a marketplace is that you're not getting the full dollars and cents from your efforts. You are merely getting a commission. So in that, here's the thing. I never think the marketplace is the end all be all. I never think that is the primary way that your brand should be making money. I never feel that this is what you should be focusing on primarily, but I definitely feel that it is a wonderful way to add to all the different ways that your brand generates an income. All right. So that's number 3. That means we're halfway there. The 4th way is my favorite, and it is through memberships. Oh, it's like music to my ears. These are the ways that listen, memberships are the things that allow you to create repeatable income for your brand every single month without questions asked. The only thing that you have to be prepared to do is you have to be prepared to be able to create for yourself enough time to create the content or the resources or the experiences that people will see value or want to see value in. A lot of people do not like to really get into memberships because they don't necessarily want to feel the burden of creating the content that their members will see as valuable. So if you are in a space where you're like, you know what, I really want to focus on this. If you're in a space where you're like, you know what, I really want to create content or services or experiences, and I feel that I'm doing this on a regular basis and packaging this up as a membership is right for me, I so support you in doing that, because of the fact that this allows you to make monthly income on an ongoing basis. I would say for Prestige, our normal amount of I'll say or our average tenure of membership is usually about 5 years. In 2020, our goal was to see how do we move that from 5 to 10. And we wanted to do that by expanding what we were offering. 2020 then, of course, hit us, bam. And although, I was really excited about it, all the things we were going to do, I will say that it kind of hit us and it caused us to kind of like rethink how we were going to pivot. And we did do the pivot really well. 2021 came and it was like, I don't know. We had so much. I was feeling very overwhelmed in 2021 because there were so many things I wanted to do, and I just wasn't sure how I was going to fit it all into the 4 quarters. And then once we're now in 2022, it's kind of like, do I want to repeat the kind of things that I wanted to do in 2021? Or is it time for me to kind of just like rethink everything? But I got to tell you, one thing that's not going away, those memberships. So definitely take some time to think about whether or not you have what it takes in you to create the value to be able to charge for a membership to your tribe. The fifth thing here is licenses. And there are some businesses that actually take really great take time into like creating content that they give out as a license. So you basically purchase the license to sell the thing or to be able to teach the thing. I don't know how I feel about that, but you know what? I mean, listen, look at some people who do this. I think Glambitious does this, where you can like go onto Glambitious and you can purchase like some of the, I think, ebooks that's licensed. She also, it's quite a few things, but it's like, there's some content that she has where you can license out your work. And basically what she's saying, if you buy it for this, you can actually teach this very thing and charge people, and you have access to, and I don't know, I have never purchased any of her things. I know people who have, so I don't know all of the ins and outs, but I feel like you have the ability to maybe like have access to like PowerPoints or, you know, whatever people would need to then be able to kind of like make it their own and brand it, and then be able to teach that same material or to be able to replicate that material. So licenses is a thing. So if there's something that you think you can do, feel free to license, or that you're, you know, be able to provide that. And also make sure you do some reading as well on what it takes to do licensing, and at what point are you know, is it copyright infringement for you, or how, you know, how are people taking advantage of the license? What are going to be some of the agreements, if you will, some of the legal jargon that someone has to have around you giving them carte blanche to your intellectual property? So definitely think about that. And last and definitely not least is the freemium model. So freemium is your freebie model. What are you going to do that is going to be considered free to someone, that excites them about all the things that they're having access to, but also entices them to upsell, you know, for an upsell, to be able to now purchase some kind of, you know, thing from you so that they can work with you or get your services or buy your products at an actual price. So definitely think about the freemium model. I think that's awesome. I used to have a freemium model. That freemium model was our pink room, and I kind of done away with that. And yeah, that's kind of where we are with it, because you know, once again, I have to sit down with all 6 of these models and really think about what makes sense to reintroduce for, I was about to say for the 9 tray. Like, what is that? For those of you who have not been around at all in the 90s, just know the 9 tray was 1993. And I'm like, it was a thing you would say, and it was like cool, I guess, but I don't have no idea why that came to my brain. But I was like, what are we saying like now? The deuce for the 22? Like, ugh. so, yeah, like I'm trying to think about what I want to do for, you know, 2022. So I hope that talking through these 6 different models have helped you in identifying, you know, what are some of the opportunities that you can explore. Listen, go through this episode again, okay? It is only about 39 minutes long. Go through the episode, fast forward to the parts where we talk about the models, and write them down. Really sit down with these models and think about what it is that you may want to flesh out. For my members who are listening to this podcast, we are going to meet the end of January, where we are going to sit down with these 6 models and actually do some strategy planning on what works best for us. So I can't wait to sit down with my members. I can't wait to sit down and just kind of take on this information myself. And I hope all of you find some just some gems sprinkled in there that could kind of help you in understanding how to add and expand your business this year. All right, guys, I hope that you have a wonderful, awesome, and most of all, blessed day. Bye.